Hey folks, Todd Coburn here with your Aerospace Structure series. This little video is how to use your Ti-Nspire to do your Lamina transformations. Specifically, what we're going to do is we're going to create a document and a program that will do the transformation matrix for us so that we can quickly, by just specifying the angle, pull up that transformation matrix to use for our later work. Stay tuned. Let's see how it works. So the first thing we're going to need to do is turn our calculator on. We're going to get a screen like this. Let's go ahead and we're going to click on Menu, and then we're going to click on Settings. And we're going to go here to Document Settings, and you're going to come here to Calculation Mode. Now what's going to happen is if you do any calculating in your calculator, it's going to display your answers as fractions, which is a hassle, and it's not as clear. We're going to change this Calculation Mode to Approximate. That will give you real numbers, decimal numbers, when you're doing calculations. You can always go back here through Settings to turn it back. The next thing that's really, you'll notice that a lot can be done here with the scratch pad. So if we click on the Calculate button, we're here on the scratch pad, and we can tab between graphing and scratching. Now we can do all kinds of calculations here, like 5 times 3, right? With normal operations. There's a whole bunch of other operations. The problem is, while you can do a lot of stuff rapidly here, you may do a lot of work to create programs and functions, and as you're just getting to learn things, and everything you do is gone. So you're going to need to learn how to create your documents and store them. So let's go over here to the document page. We're actually going to create a new document. So let's pick New Document. And our first page, we're going to make it a calculator page. Now the weird thing about the Ti-Nspire is it has that scratch area, and it also has document areas. And the way it works is not necessarily so intuitive, but you're going to need to create a document. So let's say we're here working in L-04a class. You may want to create a folder for that. We'll talk about that in a bit. But within that, we're going to need to name, this is going to be like this document can have multiple pages, and these are considered like problems. So you're going to get this little tab up here at the top, 1.1, 1.2, and so on. We click Calculate for our first pick in that menu, which means this is a calculation page where we can do things like 5 times 3. Whoops, I'm calculating on my keyboard, and I meant to calculate here on the Ti-Nspire. Okay, you see that? This is just like the scratch pad, except that this is actually within a document. Now what we're also going to do is we're going to create a program so that we don't have to do this over and over. Now you can actually create the matrix, like let's say we have a 45-degree angle lamina, and we need to do calculations of our cosine and sine. Well, actually, if you do cosine of 45, it's actually going to think that's in radians, so we need to convert it. So to convert it, we're going to pick the pi button times our angle 45 divided by 180, and this is going to convert that to an actual angle. But hey, and then once we have this angle, we then can go and store this puppy, and we can actually create our matrices. But actually, that's too much duplicated effort. While it's important that you can do that, we're going to be doing so many other calculations. You want that transformation matrix and its inverse to be at your fingertips for every lamina. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to program this puppy. Let's go ahead and let's name our document before we get too far along. So we're going to call this document. Now, if you look here, let me escape out of here. We can hit the escape button here. you'll notice it says asterisk document. This is some unnamed document. The computer doesn't know what it is. So we're going to name it. We're going to create a new document, or excuse me, we're going to save as, and that's going to be, now this is going to put it in the My Documents folder. Let's go ahead and let's hit tab. Here's tab on your calculator. Tab, tab, tab. There, we just got to a place where we can have a new folder. Let's click on that. And we're going to call our new folder Aero A-R-O-4360. So we're going to name it after the class. Now, if you're industry watching this video, then I recommend you call this Composites or COMP or something like that. Composites is a good one. You want to set aside the folder for all your composite programs and calculations and documents. Separate from your other kinds of calculations, you'll find out that the Ti-Nspire has the ability to move things around and copy things quite readily. So this is going to create that folder. Let's save it, and we're going to call this name of our document Lamina. Now you can call it anything you want, but we're going to call it, I think Ti-Nspire does not recognize. Let's do this. Let me back over here. I did that a little fast. Let's go to Shift L. We'll find out if it does. And then we're back to A-M-I-N-A. There we go. And we're going to hit save. So we just saved that. Let's go ahead and close this document. Okay, now we're going to go looking for it. We're going to hit Browse, and we see here's 4361. We can hit the right arrow, and we can find, where is our, oh, here's our program here. This should have been stored in our new folder. Okay, escape, escape. Okay, so we've closed our documents. We go to Browse, and here under L-04a, we have our program Lamina. Now you'll notice what I did was I had to store it under this folder, and now I have 2 copies of Lamina. No problem. We'll delete that other one later. But we have our 4336 folder. I just collapsed it. You can actually open it by clicking on it or by hitting this right arrow. Hit it again, hit the left arrow, it collapses it. You see how that works? This is our program, so we're going to just click on that, and now we have our program. Our current program is just a calculating area. That's not what we want. Let's go ahead and clear this. Menu, Action, Clear History. That's what we wanted. Menu, Action, Clear History. That cleared all our calculations. Okay, now we're going to create our program. Okay, so now we have we have 1 page in this document Lamina, and that page is a calculating page, and I think it's convenient if that's the first page of our document. We now are going to add another page, and the quick way to do this is to hit Control. See right here it says plus page right here, right behind document. So we're going to hit Control and Document, and that creates a new page. Now the first page we made a calculator page. This page we're going to make a program page, and we're going to make it a new program. We're going to call this program T. This program is stored within our, excuse me, not T because we want to call our variable T. We're going to call it Lamina T. So let's call it Shift L-A-M Shift T. I don't think it's going to retain these caps. It's a program, and we're going to go ahead and give it public visibility and pick OK. So now look here, we've got 2 tabs in our program. You can use these right keys to scroll, this scrolling button to scroll over to this one and to this one. Now, to go through these, you can hit Control left arrow, and that will come to the first page. Control right arrow, that will go to the next page. Control up arrow, and that gives a screen like this where you can see all the pages in your document. You can have a bunch of them, something like 50. Okay, so let's go back. Let's select one. This is the program we're going to be writing. Okay, so we're going to actually give it a variable, incoming variable. Let's call it degrees. When we run this program, we're going to call out the name of the program, lamt, and in parentheses, we'll put in the degrees, because we're typically, when we're dealing with these, we're going to have a 0-degree lamina, a 30-degree lamina, a 45-degree lamina. Okay, so now we have, that means incoming, we're going to have a variable named degree, which has whatever the angle is of your thing. Now we need to convert that, and we're going to call the angle within the program, the angle in radians, we're going to call it A. So we're going to get A, and then you're going to hit the, you'll notice here you've got right here, you see that little blue colon equals? That's how you define a variable. So we're going to hit Control and this button here, and that gives you, now we're defining what A is. And we need A to be pi, so we're going to hit this and select pi, times, and now we're going to need degree, that's our little variable that we have incoming, degree, divided by 180. Now what that will do, and then enter, that is now creating a variable A that has the radian value of that angle, which was in degrees. We're now ready to construct our T matrix. Now if you pull up your handbook, you'll find out the values of the T matrix. Actually, an easier way to do this is first, let's go ahead and calculate the cosine and sine so we can actually do this easier. So let's say that C, and we're going to define C, so we're going to hit Control, this little key here, and that is going to give us, now we're going to define that as the cosine, since we already have our angle in, and we're going to open parenthesis, and then we're going to put the angle, which is now A. Okay, that gives us the cosine of that angle, and we can now hit enter, and we're going to find C, Control this key, and we're going to call that the sine of that angle. Angle A. Enter. Look at that. Okay, now we have the angle in radians. We have the cosine and the sine both calculated. Now we're ready to construct our T matrix. So let's call that T. We're going to define it. And now it is, now the quickest way, now there's a matrix function in the Ti-Nspire, and you're welcome to use that if you like it. It's actually a cool little function. I think it's quicker to type these directly by using Control and then the open parenthesis, which actually makes that a square bracket since we had Control. You see that? That's going to define a matrix. All the columns are separated by commas, and the rows are separated by colons. So now we can call it out quickly. We need cosine squared, which we've defined as C up to, that's our first entry, comma, right down here. Then we're going to have the sine squared, which is S squared, comma, and then we need 2 times cosine times sine. We're going to check that. It looks like we got it right. We're going to hit the semicolon. That's not really easy to find. That's down here in this little button here. It opens another menu and we grab this puppy. Then we put our next row in, which is sine squared, comma, and the next entry is cosine squared, comma, and then our last entry is minus 2 times cosine times sine. Take a quick look, looks good. We're going to hit another semicolon, it goes to the third row, and we're going to have a negative sine times cosine, checking our value, looks good, comma to the next column. We're going to get sine times cosine, another comma, check this. If you make a mistake, you just backspace over with the backspace, which is, this is enter, your backspace right here, your delete key. And now we're ready for our last term, cosine squared minus sine squared. Oh my gosh, this is too easy. We're going to hit enter. Okay, actually that didn't work, so let's go ahead and write over and then hit enter. There we go. Okay, now we have, let's check to see. I'm going to click over here and see if we've got anything else. Okay, that looks good. Now what we want to do is we want to display that to the screen. So we're going to write display DISP is a Ti-Nspire command space, which is this little key here. And what do we want to display? We want to display T. Bang. Then we're going to enter. Then we might as well calculate the inverse while we're at it. Let's just define them both. So let's call this Ti for T. So instead of having to take the inverse all the time, we'll just have T and Ti, so we can just grab the one we want. And that we're going to define as, so we're going to hit this little control, this little definition key, and we're just going to define it as T to the up power minus 1. That is all we need to do. Then we're going to enter. Oh, we better actually have to tab out of there with the right space. Now enter, and let's display that puppy. D-I-S-P space, and we're going to display Ti. All right, we now have finished our program. Now, what you need to do is save your program, and you need to check the syntax of the program. We can do them both by hitting, now you can go through the menu for this, but if you hit Control B, that will check the syntax and save it. You see a little note here, up here, that it was saved successfully. And if we want to run it, we can hit Control R. But we want to run it where we want to run it instead of having the Ti-Nspire create. So let's go ahead and we'll tab over. You can just use these little arrow keys to tab over and click on this, or you can hit Control left arrow. That will bring us to this one. Let's try running our program. We're going to write, remember the name of our program was Lamte, L-A-M-T-O. We use caps. Let's find out if this works. Open parenthesis, and we're going to put the angle. Let's go ahead and make a 0 degree angle. Enter. There it is. That's the T matrix. Let's check. Here's the T matrix. Enter. Yep, that's it. Let's hit the Ti. Now you have these matrices are stored as variables. Now, if you were actually going to be doing, let's say we're analyzing a laminate with a bunch of lamina, we could then go and store these. We could say, we could hit T, enter, and then we could just store this puppy, Control store, and we could call it T1 or something. Enter. And now we have T and we have T1. And they're the same, but this way we can use the same program, our Lamte program, to evaluate the T and the Ti for every layer. Once we do it for one layer, we can store the variables to another variable name, and then we can go and calculate the next one, and this will make your job much faster. Okay? Now, there are actually more complicated programs we're going to get to do everything, but the idea is to get our calculator to do the easy parts for us so we can run through and do the more cool calculations. Let's head and go ahead to menu, actions, clear history. That now cleared this. Now, if you're scared, we can tab over here, Control T. Yep, our program's still there. Let's Control back. Let's say, hey, are those variable names still stored? Well, sure. All you got to do is hit T, enter, and you see it still knows what T is. So within this Lamina document, we have a calculating window and we have a program window. A calculating window and a program window. I'm going to clear this. Remember, menu, actions, clear history, cleared this one. Now don't clear this one. We want to keep that puppy, right? But this we want clear. We better save this because we've been doing a lot. So we're going to go to Document, File, oops, Cancel. We want Document, File, and now we want to go to, where is our Save button? File, Save, bang, there we go. See, there's no asterisk. We now have that saved. So we now have our programming window, our working window, and our program. So we now have our program with a page for calculating where we can do all our operations and a page for our transformations. Once again, let's say we have a 45-degree angle, Lam T, 45, enter. And this gives us our two matrices, T and Ti. This is our first little program. We have it stored as Lamina. Let's go ahead and clear this menu, this window one more time. Actions, clear history. We have our program and our working area. Later, as we get more and more tools for evaluating composite laminate, we can create additional programs right here in our Lamina. Any program associated with our Lamina that we need, we can put here in document 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and then we can actually do the calculations in our first page, the calculating page. This will be very powerful. So we've got this. Let's go ahead and store it once more. Document, File. We want to save changes, yes, and we're done. That's our first program. Woohoo! Now if you go to Documents, let's say we want to open the file. Documents, Open Documents. We see here is our L-04a folder, and under that is our Lamina program, and there it is. We can now close it, no problem. Edit right here under File, Close, and we're back to where we started. So you now know how to create a basic program coupled with a working area, how to save that document so it's available for you later. You can close that whole document space so you don't mess it up when you're doing other calculations, and you can create other files, documents, that you can do other calculations for other kinds of problems and put programs in there when you need them. So that's a little tool. Enjoy.